Hi. So yes, it's the day 13, the penultimate day of Wimbledon and the day of the women's final. And we just witnessed the Wimbledon final in the women's section, and it would be quite a final. It would go down in the history as quite a final because it reminded me of that 1988 final at the French Open when Steffi Graf beat Natasha Zvereva 6 love, 6 love. And I remember the elation, the joy in Steffi's face, at the same time, the pain and suffering in Zvereva's face. Because getting loved out in a big Grand Slam final is so painful, and one can really visualize and imagine the kind of joy which Iga would be having, because it was Iga Swiatek's first ever Wimbledon final and first ever Wimbledon championship, and she won it in style. So her celebration, her joy, her elation is perfectly justified. But one would also be feeling sad for Amanda Anisimova of US, the 13th seed, how she would be feeling right now without having a single game on the score sheet, to go down as 6 love, 6 love, being the first ever female athlete in the open era to have lost a Wimbledon final 6 love, 6 love, and almost the only person after 100 years to lose at Wimbledon 6 love, 6 love. That is really painful, and that is really really heartbreaking. But I'm sure she's very young. She's 13th seed. The positive thing is that by the time the next ranking will come out day after tomorrow, she would be finding herself in the top 10. She would be now considered a huge threat in every major championship. Also, she would be directly, most probably, qualifying now for the WTA finals, the tour event finals, if she can maintain that ranking and reach number 8. And now she has become a star, and she has shown that she can beat any player on her day. Unfortunately, she didn't face a human being or a human player today at the final, because Iga Swiatek was nothing but a computer. She was completely programmed, it seems, to win this championship and this big final. Almost there was no unforced error. It was negligible, and whenever it used to happen, it was happening at the time when she was already having 2 game points or 2 set points. So she was never under pressure. Her service was her major weapon. She won so many points with her first serve. It was almost unreturnable, and she could be so clinical and so razor sharp with her service. Her ground strokes were flawless. The depth in her returns were immaculate. She was hardly missing anything. I think today was a day when one, after a long time, could remind oneself of somebody like a Serena Williams, a Steffi Graf, or a Martina Navratilova, of those golden period of women's tennis, where they were really dominating the world like a queen. And today, after a long time, one saw the glimpses of those players in Iga Swiatek's game. She was unbeatable, unstoppable, untouchable, and she deserved that 6 love, 6 love thrashing that she gave. And sadly, it was really sad to see Amanda Anisimova not having a chance to play a normal player, or a player with some flaws which she could have actually tried to utilize to her advantage. It was almost she bumped into a computer on a wrong day, and she couldn't do anything. So that is the irony of tennis, because in the first round it was Anisimova who won against Yulia Putintseva of Russia 6 love, 6 love. So that day it was really heartbreaking for Putintseva, and Amanda announced herself at this year's Wimbledon by blanking her 6 love, 6 love. And the poetic justice, you can call it for some, or you can call it actually the real irony, that after 6 more games in the final today, she was blanked out in the big stage in front of millions of tennis fans by the untouchable, the invincible Iga Swiatek, 6 love, 6 love. But as I said, it would not be a day to feel bad for Swiatek, for Anisimova, once the dust settles down, once that pain and anguish of the 6 love score goes out of her mind, when she looks at it with a broader view, on a macro view, she will realize it has been a fantastic effort. There have been so many players who have been knocked out, from Coco Gauff to Pegula to Paolini to Sabalenka, and she herself was responsible for knocking out the number one seed, world number one, Sabalenka, on a surface which was supposed to be Sabalenka's most preferred surface this year, because her game and her temperament was suited to that Wimbledon. But she knocked her out, so she has achieved some incredible things and reached the final, and so she should be damn proud of what she has achieved. Now let's come to Iga Swiatek. What a fantastic story she has in this year. Just to remind people that she was the world number one in 2022 after Ash Barty, the real true legend, the last of the legends. She retired at such an early age, and then it was Swiatek who took over at the age of almost, she was 21, and at the age of 2021 she was the world number one, and she stayed as number one for nearly 125 weeks before Sabalenka took over. And by the way, in that process, in the meantime, she won 5 majors, 4 French Open championships and 1 US Open championship, to make it 5-time Grand Slam champion before she reached the age of 23. So by 23 she had already won 5 majors. But then, surprisingly, after she won the French Open at 2024, there was a lull, and suddenly her game disappeared, and suddenly she started hitting roadblocks. And from 2024 French Open till Wimbledon 2025 today, she hasn't won a single championship or a single title. Forget Grand Slam, she has not even won a Masters 500 or 1000 match tournament. So such has been her real struggle. But then, hats off to her for her self-belief, her confidence. She might have dropped to number 4 in the world, and she might have got a slightly unfair number 8 seeding in the Wimbledon, but she never lost belief in herself. At the same time, she was always ready to take ownership for her own slide in the performance, because in October 2024 she went to Wim Frizet, the renowned coach, the world famous coach, for taking him as her coach. And those of you who don't know Frizet, the 45-year-old has had the privilege and has the honor of coaching players, some of the greatest players, some ex-world number ones like Simona Halep, Kim Clijsters, Azarenka, and Kerber, and so many of the world number ones and also Grand Slam winners. He has trained them and helped them to achieve ultimate success. And when in October 2024 Swiatek went to him, he accepted the offer and he decided to work on her tennis. But at the same time, as I told you, she hadn't won anything from French Open till that time, and even after taking him as the coach, she had been having a lull till today. Yet look at the positivity in her, look at the ability to own her own problems, her own loopholes. She was stubborn and she was confident that the coach had nothing to do with her bad performance. The coach was giving her the best possible training. She was the person who was not able to execute, and she knew that it might take some time, but once she imbibed everything that Frizet told her or taught her, she would be able to achieve ultimate success, and that's what she did today. So she showed that once she took the responsibility and ownership for her own lack of performance, she could really imbibe everything Frizet was giving, because she had confidence in her coach, and she imbibed it so perfectly in this Wimbledon championship, because Wimbledon and grass was not supposed to be her strong Grand Slam or strong surface. She was supposed to always struggle there. The rest of the surfaces she was supposed to excel. But look at the fact and look at the figure that today she reached her first final, and she went on to win her first Wimbledon final and the championship at her first attempt at the final. And that's why credit goes to her to a large extent, and to her coach Wim Frizet, who has once again delivered with her in terms of giving her a fantastic prize in the form of Wimbledon. So yes, a memorable day for Poland and for Polish fans and for Iga Swiatek. She has won the Wimbledon crown, the ultimate Grand Slam in the books of most of the connoisseurs of tennis. So she has now added the Wimbledon to her already rich resume of 5 Grand Slams, where she has 4 French Opens. She is considered the ultimate queen, the Nadal of women's tennis at clay. So she has already won 4 French, 1 US Open, and 1 Wimbledon. She has almost achieved all the major events because she has already won the WTA finals also earlier. So she has almost achieved every possible success and all possible trophies she has won. The only thing now for her to aim at would be Australian Open, where Sabalenka would be a real threat, because Sabalenka has had a fantastic record at Australian Open and at the hard court. But considering Swiatek has already won the US Open on hard court, she should be quite capable of winning her first Australian Open next year. But before that, she will try to win one more US Open that is coming up in this year. So a fantastic journey she has taken, a great recovery in her path towards again ultimate stardom, and who knows, she may go down to become again once again number one, because Sabalenka can be vulnerable now with Iga Swiatek's rise in the stakes. So a great day for Polish tennis and Poland, and for Iga Swiatek, and commiserations to Anisimova. Thank you.